Hello and welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Iteleri's brand new tool 1/32 Tornado GR4. Here at last. I must admit, I've been after this kit for a while because Italeri have great form of saying they're going to do something. They put it in their catalogue and then you never see it again, or it goes very, very quiet. Luckily for us, eventually it's made it through. And we all got really excited when we saw some of the billets from the moulds, from the tooling and things like that. And it looked very, very nice. But eventually we've got one. Now, if you wanted a 32nd Tornado, let's face it, your options were back in, I've got a note over there, 1985, the first Revell, which was part of somebody else back then, got released, and it wasn't very nice. Then they did the F3, the fighter version, the longer version of this particular kit, and they went through it like that. And then we were spoilt in around about 1996 when they did the new tooled version, which has been the mainstay. And if you've been watching the live shows with Flory Models we've been doing recently, Andy's built it. We showed his on the site. We've got other members on Flory Models who've done amazing works with that kit. And it does make up to being very, very nice. The downside is it's not the modern GR4, it's the GR1 or 1 Plus and things like that. So now we've got a brand new tool one up to date with hopefully all the goodies you'd expect with a new toolkit. And as we can see on this one, you do get engines, radars, you've got the smart weapons for it and things like that. So without further ado, as you can see, nice little bit of box art. So we've got some paveways underneath there for the more modern colour schemes. And I know a lot of people say they're not as nice just being in the grey, but there we go, we've got it down in there. Going around on the box, you can see your kit number for this one is 2513, and it does say it does have workable wings, and it amazes me when kit manufacturers mention it's got movable parts and that, because you just know they're going to snap off if you tried it. But anyway, they are positionable, I think we'd call it. Nice detail looks like in the actual cockpit, as you can see down in there. Thrust reversers, things like that, and then obviously we've got the spoilers, the tops of the wings, air brakes, usual bits and pieces that you'd open up anyway. Okay, very nicely done down in there. Good detail it looks like in the actual, for the spoilers and the undersurfaces and with the flaps and those types of areas as well. We do get a nice bit of photo etch. We've got obviously weapons and the gears, as you imagine. It's got rubber tyres down in there. On the end, you've got it down there. So the length of this is 52 centimetres. So it's not massive, it's big. Obviously with the wings out, it's huge, but if you fold it up, it's not too bad at all. Okay, for storage. As you can see, this is these lovely detailed thrust reversers, and with the photo etch as well, look very, very nice indeed. We do get some radar equipment in there as well, speed brakes, things like that as well down in there. And then again, we get a fully detailed engine. Some of the markings, obviously, we can see down in there as well. It's got your colour call-outs as well. So we've got 617, the Downbusters squadron down in there. We've got 31 Squadron, which were in Italy, 2011, and then obviously we've got the special, my favourite, with the bat scheme on the back, which was the farewell scheme as well, from 9 Squadron. So yes, very, very nice indeed. Right, so we've got to cut our way in here because it is a brand new box. Kit price on this is not cheap, but it's a lot of plastic. So we can get in here. You can see we have a massive old decal sheet. So as you can see, very nice job indeed. That looks pretty nice just off the bat. We'll have a closer look at that in a moment. We've got a little booklet down in here, which is, this is just looks like the painting guide, which it is. So you've got a booklet for that. You've got a very nice thick book for obviously putting it all together, because again, it's a large old lump. We've got our photo etch, and we've got some pins in here as well, which I hope the pins haven't, oh no, that's right, that's a staple. Screws. Okay, so that's down in there like that. We've got then separate for the canopies, and we've got the various parts down in there. Okay, we've got another one, and it shows you the front end of this thing. Again, huge old lump. So we got a couple of sprues down in that bag. Okay, rubber tyres, and we got the actual sweep gloves as well. Okay, so that's those parts down in there. And then in here we've got weapons. So again, looking at weapons immediately, we're thinking there's the German version is going to be coming out of this, because we've got HARM missiles down in there, with obviously something the RAF doesn't carry. So we've got those, and we've got the wings, and then the Mighty Fin. So she's known as the Mighty Fin, clearly because it's got a huge tail onto it. So that's the one down in there like that, and that is our box. So, somewhat we want to put these into some semblance of order, so let's just change those around a little bit. So let's start off with the instructions. Okay, going to be a good review this one because it's big. Okay, so usual thing, got your tree callouts, and again, like we were saying, we've got greyed out areas in here. So some of the weapons, as I said, the ECM pod is definitely not RAF. So yeah, so we've got things like AMRAAMs down here, what we're going to be using, HARM missiles, the big GPS guided POMs, obviously doesn't carry it in this version. Also, it's got Sidewinder X's, that's a bit random. So looks down in there as well, and other ones in here. So again, just looking at some of these parts, it looks like we're going to be seeing a German version of this coming out in the very near future, which is quite nice. Okay, again, some of the other things over here, so he's talking about those screws. All right, straight into it. We've got the seat, doesn't look too bad at all. We've got all the support equipment onto the sides of the seats and things, so that's quite nice. Harnesses, we're assuming, are made up of the photo etch as well, which they are. So that's these bits all down in here, which is going to go into those. So you've got the seats going in. We've got the control grip, panels, instruments, all the various things going in to make up there. Into the gear, funny enough, it's going together very similar to the other 32nd Tornadoes of old. But anyway, gear going down in there, nose well as well being put in. Looks like because of the way it's got the side pins down into this, you're going to have the gear installed early or cut the pins off and fit them afterwards. So you have got options if you wanted to, it's just a little bit of a pain. Opening up underneath, obviously we've got the FLIR pod and the sensor pod underneath the chins for both sides of those, so obviously you need to open up the holes in there. And again, you've got options as well if you wanted to do it gear up. So it's quite nice, you're actually putting the gear up doors go in from the top into it. So that's being fitted in there just like that. Okay, and then obviously gear down. Weirdly, you're supposed to be putting all this in. Never understood why manufacturers do it this way, but hey ho. Okay, gear looks like they are weight on wheels. And again, I thought they were rubber wheels. Were they rubber wheels? Alternative. So again, you can either have it as rubber or you have got plastic, which actually is not a bad option because a good shout is obviously the plastic version is going to be weight on wheels. With the rubber one, you're going to have to attack it with a knife. Okay, so front ends going together, usual type of ways as well. So two halves of cockpit, floor, canopy, things like that being fitted down into there. Opening up the holes on the sides for the refueling probe. We've got the radar going in, a lot of nose weight, 60 grams. Don't forget that to go in there as well. So that's all being put in there. Okay, and then obviously, as you imagine, you've got all the various things. So you've got photo etch, which is going to make up the shrouds over the actual screens for the Rio down in the back, or the navigation weapons officer. Okay, down in there being fitted in, seats, front canopy, and then down in here we've got the gun. Okay, being fitted down onto that one as well, and then working our way on the main fuselage. So we've got obviously the wheel wells being fitted. Be nice to see what the detail is like on those. And again, looks like you are going to have to put some of the lumps and bumps in here purely for fitting them early. Again, there's lots of holes to open up, so make sure you do those, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare afterwards. Okay, full length intakes running down to the engines, which is quite nice, and then we've actually got the pin here for the actual wing sweep mechanism being fitted on there as well. We've got these rubber gloves being fitted down in here for the wing sweep, so obviously it gives it a little bit posable, and then bringing that lot together, as you might imagine, down in here to the actual would be the first stage compressors. Okay, tailplanes being fitted on, very nice long pins, and it looks like we've actually got a movement guide on those as well, so they won't over move. So actually they look quite good solid areas into there, and they're independent as well, so you will have that little bit of movement each side, which is unusual because normally they're just fixed. Engine, again, nice touch with this kit. We do get a fully detailed engine down in here as well, and it's an interesting engine because obviously it's got the thrust reversers onto it and things like that. So again, we've got all of those areas being fitted down into those and on, and then obviously if you're putting them in, which it'll be one of those things where you're going to have to, because it looks like there is no option to have it being displayed open, but we'll just check that on the next page. So anyway, those being fitted in there, we've actually got the center parts, the rings, the various things, so those going in there. Thrust reversers, again we've got a little bit of photo etch which is making up the detail on the actual buckets onto the back, so that's quite nice as well. Okay, same for the other side, and if you're obviously doing open or closed positions down in there like that. We do get a dolly, which again is another really nice touch with this kit, so if you do want to display with the engine out or just perhaps one out, you can have that option, which is nice because it's a good detailed part. Wings, flaps, slats and all the various things being put on there, so that's fine, with the spoilers on the top. Again, it's talking about melting and putting in to make it all posable. I think if you're like me, you're not going to worry about that at all. And again, these parts in here being fitted onto this one for the leading edge of the slat if you're having it open or closed. Okay, so doing on those. So you do got alternatives right the way through. Speed brakes open or closed, and then obviously over here you got the other part for fixing the wing section on to there. So we saw the other version on the bottom. This is the top one being fitted in. Again, open or closed if you want the air brakes. Okay, and then it's starting to come together. So top parts being put down, good old-fashioned cog system into there being fitted in, and then it's showing you how it's actually going to clip inside. So you're going to be putting the wings down and then the one on top, and then it's hopefully going to sandwich it all together. It does have those two screws. So those two screws look really big there, don't they? If I get them down the other end of this, let me get them. So those big, huge screws you can see there, which look massive, is actually those. Yeah, they definitely look bigger on there, don't they? So, yes, it may be a little bit of a weak area, we'll have to see on that one, but not too bad at all. Then comes the exciting bit. So technically you've got to sandwich all this together. So you're going to have some seams and some various things in here. Okay, it looks like the engines are going to be covered up anyway, and then you've got to put the front end on very late with all these bits hanging off of it. I'm wondering if there's a better way of putting this together earlier. So obviously you're going to be more sort of seamless in various areas. Be interesting to sit down and work that one out if there's a more effective way of doing it. Tail being fitted on there, again, nice touch. So you do have a posable rudder, because they usually flap around in the wind a little bit, so you can offset that, make it a little bit more nicer. And again, more photo etch for the actual vanes on the side of the actual fin as well, so that's quite nice. So it's talking about those in there. Quite a detailed part on that one. Fin being dropped down on the back, okay, going in, okay, and then we're starting to come together. So we've got the center spine section being fitted up and in there with the covers on, opening up obviously holes and things for the various antenna on top, and then the same on the actual intake. So building up the intakes and putting those in. Obviously you've got the side blowing doors open or closed as well, okay. Same for the other side, and then you've got the glove area over the front, so fitting those on. Got one of them at the PM stores, thanks to Nathan, so we've actually got that real part of that. Okay, and then obviously you've got alternatives as well. These side doors, say call them doors, gloves, whatever you want to call them on here, I didn't think were used anymore. So where it says alternative about having open or closed, I thought they were just permanently closed. They're welded up these days. But anyway, I know an expert on Tornado, so I have to speak to him about it. Main gear can be fitted afterwards, which is nice. It's the nose wheel that can't. Again, alternatives if you want to do rubber or plastic. Okay, exactly the same for the other side. Okay, and then the doors, we've got the lights, another little bit of photo etch being fitted down in there for the actual light fitting, so that's quite nice. Okay, doors, and then obviously we've got the sensors going on the front, so we've got obviously the FLIR sights, things like that being fitted on there. And then obviously going through with some of the smaller parts, so we've actually got the hook being fitted down on the back and some other small little details as well. Weapon system being put down in here, I think it's a GBU 12s. Okay, twins, pretty much standard fit, but obviously in later life carried some very nice stuff like brimstone. Okay, so we got those fuel tanks, and then obviously be interesting to see, it looks like we do have the bigger Hindenburg tanks on this, which is pretty much standard, and we've got the jammer pods and the various countermeasure pods, the buzz pods, things like that being fitted down onto it. Sidewinders being fitted in, and then obviously the pylons, the various parts. Again, same for the other side, same for the other side. Nice to see we've got the actual layout of how they're going to fit in there. Back to the canopy, so we've got the deck core, we'll see how that is, if it's a recessed one or raised, and then obviously the details being fitted in, nose open or closed, and then alternatives. Nice as well, we get a boarding ladder, so actually we've got a crew ladder for that one as well, and that completes your Tornado. So again, very, very nice, very in-depth. Good instructions, they look very well laid out. Okay, so down in here we've got the painting and the marking options little booklet as well. So down in here we've got one which is Danger Mouse, PM models version just down in here as well. So we've got all the details, so that's quite nice. So that's Operation Telic in 2003. So very nice as well. All we've got down in here, as I said, we've got 617, so we've got the flash on the tail up here from Herrick in 2010. Okay, so that's actually very nice indeed. Or as I say, we've got one down from Italy, from 31 Squadron. with the star on. So that's very nice, 2011. Or as I say, we've got the fair well scheme from 9 Squadron as well, which to be honest is my sort of favourite with this one. It's very, very nice on there with all the details. So again, really very, very cool markings. Okay, and then assuming down in here, we've got all the call outs as well. So it's nice details as well, pointing out all the colours, obviously all the stencil data for the parts and everything else down in there, depending if you're doing a training round or if you're doing a live round. And obviously we've got the Bose pods and the sky shadows as well and the various things. And then last up, we've got the walkway markings as well. So these are sort of dotted yellow lines that have them all on there as well. So good concise instructions right the way through. We do like that a lot. Okay, we do get a very large, as you've seen before, decal sheet. So that's actually very nice. If we just have a little bit of a run round, perhaps on the close up in here a little bit more. So as you can see, we've got the various bits. We just need to tap that. That's it. Nice, good, clean. They look solid as well. Nice, good, solid with the back. And then again, common stuff down the bottom for the pylons and all of that. This is that walkway. Have fun down in there, just like that as well. So again, very, very nice, good, solid decals. Pop those out of the way because we don't want to ruin anything. I'm not going to bother getting these out because they only get blinded by the camera, and on plastic actually they look a little bit nicer. So as you can see down in there, we've got some of those parts we were talking about. So again, very, very nice indeed. Again, no colour ones for it, but trust me, the aftermarket people are on this like Sonic. So yes, very nice indeed. Right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So starting down in here, there's going to be no easy way not to mutilate this. So first thing off the bat, as I look at it like I do with these things, it looks chunky. I don't know why, it just, yeah. Again, this is where I become hypercritical with these things. So straight off the bat, to me, it looks very Italeri-esque, as in, it's that standard grey plastic, it's that standard type of feel to it and stuff. The only thing that is just jumping out straight off the bat is the panel lines look huge. They do. I know this is 32nd and it's chunky, but that does look very, very large. It looks like I rescribed my 48th one back in the day. But they do just look a little bit chunky on the detail, shall we say. And some of these details down around in here, it just has that look. This one under here, I'm trying to catch it in the light a little bit for you, as you can see. Again, looks very nice, but when you compare it to the sort of fuselage, I don't know, they just look quite chunky and everything else. So technically what we've got down in here is the forward fuselage, as you can see. And I'd say, I am by no means a Tornado expert, but I know a man who is, who'd love to get his hands on this kit, which I think we're going to send it up to him so he can have a peruse over it and do a second review on this and pull it apart. But it looks good, just looks a little bit very Italeri-esque. And when I say that, it's just that some of the parts on the sprues, some of the various parts down here, they look quite chunky. You know, they don't look very sharp and refined like you find. Now, some of that can be the type of styrene that they're using, and obviously we're in a larger scale, so it is 32nd, so you can forgive it a little bit like that. On the nose down in here, you can probably see we do have that raised area down in here, so that's very nice indeed. Okay, but if we start to move around, we've got the cockpit details, the various things, and we've got the front ends and stuff like that running down in here. We've got the thrust reverser parts. They all look good, solid area. I'm surprised the cockpit has been done like this. This is quite an old school way of doing it, where you just sort of mold it in one. Again, it's not like the normal way you'll see some of the AAA companies out there do it, where they'll do obviously the base tub, and then we'll do panels for on the top, which make it easier for painting. Italeri have elected to go in. Now, the reason I'm being a little bit harder on this kit now is that it's 130 quid. It's not a cheap kit compared to obviously the AAA companies out there. If you're charging AAA money, I'm expecting AAA, you know, technically parts and all the nice stuff off of this, and it just looks a little bit clunky. There is a little bit of flash running around it as well. You can probably see down here on my thumb, we got some little bits of flash and some little gnarly bits, and you can probably see a little bit of flash off of this down in here. So it's not the cleanest sprues and parts And then again down on here on the flying side, all the the ejector pins are flush and tucked out of the way. None of them are sticking proud and anything else like that. But you can probably see down in here, these sprue ones are obviously getting the part out without putting an ejector pin on it, but it's come at a price because these are very large locating tabs. But again, I think that's more of a strength issue to get that particular part out of the mould without having to have ejector pins all over it. But you could just, not being funny, on this side, does it matter? It looks like just somebody's overthinking this. Yeah, strange. Okay, so we won't get bogged down. Okay, so we've got two identical ones here. So we're just going to move this out of the way. So we've got those giant Hindenburg, I think we call those, fuel tanks. As you can see, they are massive, and again, perfectly correct. So we've got raised detail, because they are raised, and recessed details on these, just like the real thing. So that's very nice indeed. So we do get those in there. Over here we've got the pylons, which actually don't look too bad at all. And again, it is a nice mix. So we do have recessed details and some raised details on that as well. This guide stuff down in here, again, we're not really worried about that, but there we go. Seats, so we've got some details in the seats and the various parts, and to be honest, for the scale, they don't look too bad at all. So that's quite nice down in there. Now we're moving down to the sort of engine area, as you can see, and it's all molded in one. Again, you might thought these parts might be separate. Other companies might have made them as separate and then go in there. It's going to make for a quicker build, that's for certain. But there is just little bits of, like this edge on here is quite untidy. It's got bits on it and the various things. Compressor blades all look very nice, no problem with that at all. And the afterburner or flame holder on the back here looks quite nice. Again, sometimes you'll see that in photo etch and stuff. I think you can probably get away with it in the scale in 32nd, but yeah. The nozzle, obviously very important, actually doesn't look too bad. That looks pretty good. And it's molded internally, although it has got some funny ejector pin, the way they've got that out, they've sort of come in from a side. But it has come out. Obviously blind side, we're not worried about any of this because you're not going to see any of it, but just to give you a bit of a quick look at it, as you can see, it doesn't look too bad at all. Obviously you get two of those. We got the fin down in here. As I say, I can't even get a knife in here to get in. Okay, so, wow, it just shows the scale of this thing. And then this is where you're sort of torn, because that looks very nice. I've got no problem with that. It looks about right. So weirdly, again, I'm just looking down in here. We have got some sink marks. You can see those quite clearly, and I can feel them. So there is sink marks, and that's because it's very, very thick plastic on this side. So sink marks running right the way through these. Again, if you're worried about it, once you get some paint and primer, or primer and paint on there, I should say, I think you're going to be okay. It's only if you're weathering it, it might be a bit of a pain to go round. We've got the curves down here of the flaps, and as you can see, we've actually got the screws. These are the screw jacks for actually how these deploy. They were a nightmare on the Rebel 48 one, I must admit. I had fun and games with those, not to mention cutting them off. So anyway, that looks all, to be honest, quite nice. Will you see anything under these? Probably not, but there is ejector pins if you did. Okay, tails. Again, that actually looks pretty good. I don't know why, it's just the nose one doesn't. But again, you've got, hopefully you can hear, but we've actually got a little bit of raised and recessed details in here. And I'm assuming it's just where it's catching the edge, rather than being, it should all be recessed, but feels a little bit scratchy there, and that one's not. Weird. Okay, so a little bit strange how it is. It is two-piece, but again, beautifully polished. You can probably see from the mould there, things like that. Working our way across, so again, rudder doesn't look too bad at all, and this is vaned, which is correct, again, for the actual, on the tail planes. Okay, and then the tail, so as you can see, that mighty fin, there it is. So these down in here, it's funny because they've actually moulded them in plastic, and then I'm assuming, because there's no holes into it, you're going to be replacing them with photo etch. Again, a little bit different. Up here, oh, it has got the slot. So the slot on there will be for the ILS landing system. Again, it depends on the aircraft. Some have, some don't, for the different versions out there. And we've got stiffener plates, which are moulded in correctly in up here. So that's the stiffener plate in there as well. So again, that actually doesn't look too bad. Yeah. To be honest, the tail looks better than the fuselage. And then obviously down in here we've actually got the boarding ladder, which looks a little bit clunky. and then the gear, and then looking at the gear, because it's one piece molded like this, although again it's going to be very straightforward and nice, it's a little bit soft. So yeah. Okay, wings and things. The name of a model shop where I cut my teeth on. Okay, so right. So wings, actually nice detail. It's one of those things, you look at these sometimes and you look at it and you're sort of like, that looks nice. And that does genuinely look very, very nice. So just down in here, again, really good. But I don't know if you can see it, but what is that? It looks like there's a sink mark in there, but there's no reason for it. It may just be one of those mold marks and all the rest of it just in here, but it looks like there's a sink mark in that. Again, tops of the wings, beautiful, looking very, very nice. Good sharp details. Again, to take weathering nice. Okay, intakes. So you got the nav light on the side, those sort of blow-in auxiliary doors and that all look pretty good, no problem with that at all. And then tops of the intakes, and then obviously we're moving around some of the parts, some of the gear for inside. I think this is the demist equipment for the canopy. These are these pins for the actual movements on there. And again, the other part of the wing and the slat, the various parts down in under here. There's obviously something going on there, I just can't work that out. I think it might be just a polish on the mold, making it look a little bit funny. Okay. And then again, tops of the good details. Get you in the light, there we go. Good details on the tops for the intakes. Obviously the crew's going to be walking all over that. And then obviously on the blind side, doesn't look too bad at all. Looking nice. And it's, again, these slats are obviously moulded right the way around. Okay, so again, good moulding on that. No sink marks at all or anything else. So again, nicely done. Okay, down in here we've got two of these, and again, a lot of this we're not using, but we do have the Bose pod and the Sky Shadows, which are just down in here, which actually don't look too bad at all. Again, a little bit of flash and various bits coming over these. You can see these are about to fall off the sprue by the looks of it, so being a little bit careful with those. Sidewinder just looks a little bit chunky, you know. Yes, it does have rings around it, but they're not that tall. And again, when you're into this scale, you don't. Like the gyros on the back as well, they're a little bit crudely moulded, but it has got a rocket motor, various things as well, so that's not too bad. The weapons, the GBUs, as you can see, I think they're 16s, GBU 16s. Again, they're okay. The Seeker head's got a little bit of flash in them, so a little bit of clean up with that, but generally not too bad at all. And again, the other stuff isn't ours. So, yes. Blind side looks nice. Okay, back into the fuselage. Okay, so rubber wheels we'll look at in a second. But there we go, we're now into some nice. And again, this sprue looks quite nice. It's a bit weird because this one's very, very shiny and that's very not. So yes, okay, so starting on the top part, as you can see, so you've got the fin, but gives you an idea obviously with the moulding and the various parts down in here for the speed brakes at the back. And as we sort of work our way up, you can see these are these long straights which are going to be going down. This is the intake end, obviously blow-in door, the tail with the tail movement section down the back, so this gives you an idea of main gear in here. Okay, so again, doesn't look too bad. Got some nice riveting detail up here in the various parts, it's pretty good. Okay, down in here obviously you've got the gear, main gear wells, doesn't look too bad either, quite some nice details in there. Okay, these parts down in here, which are obviously the buckets, the thrust reversers at the back. Obviously we've got photo etchers going to go in here, but they're very nice, no ejector pins or anything else in there, so that's quite nice. The actual, again, why are we doing this? This is like 2020. And you're charging 120 quid or more for a kit, but we've got ejector pins in here, you know, so it's like, now these are going to be covered over by here, but I think you might need to just take them a bit of a sand down just to make sure that these don't fit in over the top, but they have hidden them away, so we'll give them that, but they haven't, scrap that. There's one right there. Why is that one there? So again, a couple of swipes, but again, these here, these annoy me as well. But there we go, that's those. Other ones as well, we're looking down in here, and unfortunately we got ejector pin. I've got an ejector pin. Get rid of that. Anyway, down the bottom, looking very, very sharp, very nice details and everything else. good. But again, a little bit of flash, going to need a little bit of clean up all down in here. Very Revell-esque this, isn't it? Okay. Generally though, this detail in here with the raised and the recessed and that looks very, very nice. And you've got the wiring, the various things. There's no sink marks in these. So that's okay. All right. Okay, so rubber gloves. And you've got your wheels. The wheels, I don't know, they're very hard. They're not going to give any give in those at all. Personally, I think I would be more inclined to use the plastic ones or get a set of resin aftermarket ones for it rather than those. Because they just, I don't know, they're not brilliant. And again, for weighted wheels and stuff, I think I would probably use the kit part ones, just do it in the plastic. But anyway, gloves, not too bad at all. Looking very, very nice. If you did want to fold, you could split if you're doing it in flight, so that's okay. Obviously normally it would be like that, but you could literally just run a blade in here and split it apart for doing in flight and do it that way. But yeah, crude but effective, I think we'll call that. Okay, so last up we've got the clear parts, which we will do last, and we've got this bit. Okay, so full length intakes with ejector pins in them. Oh Jesus. Welcome to 1990s modelling. Anyway, on the outside, not that you're going to see them, I'm just being uber picky. Generally though, very nice. I do like this, the way they've actually opened all this up, because that's nice, because they're each individual ones as is, so that's quite nice. All the other parts are looking pretty good. We've got the gear in here and everything, so let's just start down at the intakes. So let's look at the outsides before we cry at the insides. So that's those. Then we're working our way up. So we've got all the various lumps, bumps and bits and pieces around the nose and the various doors for the nose wheel, stuff like that. Over here we've got the gear, which has got moulded in. Again, it would have been nice if they were separate and you could put them in, but if you're not into that, I suppose, fair enough. Again, some of the parts, a little bit of flash on them, a little bit of cleanup required. Not too bad, I suppose, but again, gear's got massive ejector pins in them. Shame. Okay, so if we sort of break down the big sprue to hang around, you can see on these. So technically what you've got is the tops and the bottom. So this is the top. Again, this door system under here, which is these, we spoke about these on a live show recently, and we do believe these are welded up now. They don't even use them anymore. I have to be on that, but there are little flaps, for want of a better word, or a slat that drops down, called them gloves, just to aid lower speed, high angle of attack type stuff. But anyway, nose wheel, bay, looks pretty good. This door, which you'll never see, looks very nice indeed, and this actually looks nice as well. This is the mounting bracket for your engines, for the mounting bracket, things like that. This is your trestle, if you're going to be making up the stand for it and things like that. And on the other side, so we can see. And again, this is one of those things, will you see down into these? Because what they've done is, and we'll give them a little bit of kudos here, they've buried the ejector pin this far back that I don't think you're going to see it in there anyway. This one, not so, but I believe that's the top, that's the bottom. You're probably going to see the bottom than you will the top. But I just, yeah, other manufacturers can produce a wing of this big without an ejector pin on it. So, yeah. Okay. Next up, or last up I should say, is the canopy. So hopefully, come on. No, it's bloody raised, is it? It's raised. Sorry, tried. Okay, so missed the thing. If that was recessed panel line, obviously light wash in there, let it dry, wipe it off, instant decal. That, no, you're going to have to try and do something with that, people. But I have to say, you can see this clearly. Look how clear that is. That's very, very clear. All of those don't look too bad at all. And there's no surface, there's no center seam or anything else you need to worry about that. That's very nice indeed. And again, all the lights, the HUD, the various parts. So yeah, what's that? Oh, that's the stand, I think. They've just done it in clear. So obviously the Tornado with the canopy open has a bracing bar on the nose. So from the front windscreen back here goes up to this one here. I think they've done that in clear for some reason, because it's not. So yeah, very, very nice. Okay, well, apologies if I am being a little bit critical of the kit, because I know there's loads of you out there that will absolutely love the Tornado, and it's a GR4 and it's recessed and it's really nice and it's fantastic. My problem is the price, because now what we're seeing, especially with this one, is it's premium price. You know, you're paying 130 quid for this particular kit. It's a lot of money. Anything over 100 quid for a plastic kit is a lot of money. You do get, in all honesty, a lot of plastic. So you can understand where some of this costing is clearly going in here and everything else. And with the development, and it has been a long time, and we know the world's gone crazy and things like that. But as far as I'm concerned as a modeler, you're now into a realm where you're into getting near £150. So I'm expecting AAA, I'm expecting Tamiya, I'm expecting Zucamori now. I'm expecting to see those types of things in there, and clearly I'm not seeing it. What we've got here is almost a very nice modern Revell kit, which was done in 1998. I think it got a new tooling and a few new tools and things like that in there. So there's no massive things over. We have got some beautiful things in here and some extras. So we do get, obviously we get the engines, we get obviously the nose area, they're very nice wheel wells and everything else like that. And obviously we are paying for those in the kit, otherwise that one. As in overall and everything else, there's nothing in here that jumps out to me as if like this is the best thing ever, it's the definitive one. And when you look at, and I'm not even sure if the Revell one is even available at the moment. I don't know if it is current issue, because obviously they did do new decals and everything into it, which is for the GR1 Golf one many months ago. I don't know if that kit is still available, but when you put that one up to this one, yeah, there's not much going around on this one, but it is a GR4. You've got all the luxuries of a GR4, because the other one clearly is a GR1 and it is a different bird. So this is definitely the more modern one in here. We are expecting other ones coming along, okay? So looking at it, some of the parts breakdown, things like that in there, we are expecting probably the German one to be coming along straight after this one. You might even find other nation ones coming in here. It can be done with this kit. Clearly you could even backdate this on theory to actually be in, if you didn't want to put some of the lumps and bumps of this into a GR1 from a GR4 anyway. So you have got options down in this kit. I'm just a little bit deflated. I was expecting just a little bit more, purely I think because of the price point of this kit. But if you're a Tornado fan and you want to do a modern GR4, you're going to build this kit because it does look really, really nice. And if you did want to put a little bit of work in it and perhaps open up some panels, perhaps have engines showing, things like that, you could do that. Another nice touch with this kit would have been if they'd given you perhaps first stage compressor blades and a nozzle, so you could actually have one engine out next to it with it in there. But obviously you could just drop an entire engine out and have it, but there's no way of displaying it open, which would have been a nice touch with this kit. But I think they've sort of like missed the ball with that one. Clear parts are fantastic, the decals are fantastic, the instructions look fantastic as well. But again, it's just this thing about the nose wheel being put into very early. I would probably do something about that and put it in so it could go in later. So a forward thought thing of a modeler putting it together, I think there may be other ways around it. Again, same thing, not sure about this way. It's very modular and going in. Obviously Tornadoes have to be that way, it's a box. So, you're always going to have top and bottoms and sides going onto it. And then obviously the front going in, again, is always that thing. But, it may be a way, sit down, go through the instructions, get the parts out. You might find a better way of actually installing the front end to the rear in a different way that they're showing you of doing it. They're doing the usual thing, put it all together, then put it in. I might want to do it separately just to get better lineups in areas which are going to be more visible, i.e. under here. Okay, so on top it's not so bad, there's not so many areas, but definitely down under here there will be. So you might want to look at doing it that way. Overall though, impressed, just slightly disappointed.